We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Good morning, Chris. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon.
Yeah.
We need to stop saying we've been doing this podcast in the morning so much. We need to start saying good afternoon now. Now that we're moved to 3 p.m. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
How you been, buddy?
I'm good, but the big news is, how are you? Another year around the sun, right?
Yes, it is.
How old are you, man? Do you want to tell everybody?
I'm 32 today, man.
Are you really 32?
Yeah, man.
Dude, I thought for some reason you were like 27. You look good for 32. Welcome.
Thanks,
Welcome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. What do you have any plans either this weekend or tomorrow to celebrate? Did you already celebrate?
Well, we're celebrating pretty much this coming Thursday. What's it called? We're having a little potluck and stuff like that at the house, inviting some friends over and stuff. But yeah, I streamed. I did a birthday stream. I streamed the new game, Splitgate. It's freaking awesome. It's like an arena-based, multiplayer based game, like almost like Halo, very much the same mechanics, but it's also got the same animations and mechanics as the game Portal. And I don't know if most people know that at all or anything like that, but yeah, it's great. I have a lot of fun with it, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Dude, is it cross-platform? Is it for PC? Is it for like what platform is not?
It is cross-platform, actually. It is it is cross-platform, free to play. You can do it on Steam, on PC. You can do it on PS4, Xbox, everything, dude. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have to play it again. Me and Marshall played a little bit of Warzone Rebirth afterwards because the servers were crashing, but it's in its beta phase right now, and it goes live this week for a full game. It's awesome. You guys should definitely check it out.
Dude, that sounds dope. I know you and I have talked about it in length on how Call of Duty's kind of wearing on people. So yeah, I would love to try something new. I know that Among Us is coming to PS4.
Okay.
I saw that. There's some EA Play stuff. EA Play was this past week, and there was some news that came out of that was really exciting. Are you going to pick up Battlefield when it comes out, the new one?
Battlefield? I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of the Battlefield games. It looks interesting. Right now I'm just trying to save money, and I don't know. And maybe it depends. I have to watch some more gameplay of it. It's not something I've never been a big Battlefield guy. That's just not my thing. But just like I'm not a big fan of Battlefield, I am not a big fan of our topic today. So
well, yeah. Well, before we get into it, there's one other thing I want to talk about that happened in EA Play that was huge for me, and it was the announcement of Dead Space.
I am excited about that. That looks a lot of fun. I did like Dead Space a lot. So.
Yeah, I remember when Dead Space came out, and for a little backstory, it's back in 2008, I think. I've been a huge fanboy of Resident Evil. Resident Evil to me is survival horror. It always has been. So when EA puts out Dead Space, I'm like, what is this? But they described it as having elements of Alien, Event Horizon, some really horrible but wonderful sci-fi, as in like gruesome.
Okay.
And so I can honestly say that Dead Space, the original one, was the first game that I got and stopped playing because it scared me so much. I actually stopped playing it. Yeah,
wow.
It's wonderful.
Something scared you. Okay.
Dude, and I can't wait for it to come out because from what the devs are saying is it's being rebuilt from the ground up using the Frostbite engine, and you get some of what their intentions are and the mood and the motif they're setting with this very brief EA Play kind of intro where they're reintroducing the franchise to people that may not know about it. There's a lot of people that don't even or have never played Dead Space. It'll always hold a special place in my heart because when I was first dating Jessica, she was in ASU and I was in Tucson. So what we would do was on Friday and Saturday instead of going out like I used to.
I still don't know how you got with an ASU girl. It's crazy.
Well, she wasn't an ASU girl anymore. That's the only reason why. You could play co-op, and one of the really cool things about that is, first of all, to play co-op on a survival horror game kind of rubs people the wrong way because it takes away the isolationism of it. But what Dead Space 3 did, and this is the third one at this point, whatever character you're playing would see different things. And for the longest time, it was like one of the characters having a mental break. So you would see just terrible things, and the other person would freak out, like, "Oh my God, do you see that?" And you wouldn't. So it was incredibly unique, and the way they did that was fantastic. But all that for me to just, I am so excited that people are bringing back Dead Space, and this will be the reason I get a PS5. Like if I have to pay scalping prices, I might do that.
Sell your PS4 and just get a PC. You can play it on PC. I know you can.
Can you play? I don't know. Well,
yes.
I think they did announce it. It's for a next gen system and maybe PC. I just don't like playing keyboard and mouse. To me, it's like I'm not a keyboard.
You don't have to. I mean, you can plug your controller into it.
I guess that's true.
You can. You can.
Yeah. Even for a PS4?
Yeah, that's how I play COD. I play a bunch of other games on keyboard and mouse, but I plug my controller into my PC and play COD with the controller.
Well, that makes sense though, because Xbox being kind of owned by Microsoft, that's a natural transition. But I don't know if Sony, maybe I don't know. I think you can. I think Nick Merckx. I think Nick plays with a controller.
Oh, there's a lot of PC controller people, man. Definitely.
I didn't know that. That's good to
know. But do you want to lead us into your favorite horror trilogy on Netflix right now?
Well, okay. And I want to open this by saying, first of all, and we're talking about Fear Street. We're talking about, the trilogy of the Fear Street night. So for people that don't know, they're loosely based off of books from a young adult novelist called R.L. Stine.
Ugh.
And he put out a bunch of books, and I actually was a huge fan of R.L. Stine when I was younger, but then ironically enough, Christopher Pike wrote a more adult horror. I mean, I ended up gravitating towards him. R.L. Stine to me was kind of like Goosebumps and Kitty for a while, and funny enough, the director of The Haunting on House Hill, Hill House, he is directing a bunch of Christopher Pike film iterations of his novels, so I'm excited about that.
See, I did Hill House. I did like that one. That one was not bad.
Did Hill House. He did Doctor Strange. He's got a real feel for something that's not overtly terrifying, like slow burn type of thing. And so I can't. His name is escaping me right now. I'm sure I'll remember as soon as we finish up. But that director is one to watch on the horror spectrum. So he's quite good. But going back to Fear Street. So released on Netflix as a trilogy 1 week apart. So that in 1994, this is the first one. I believe 84 was the second one, and then I believe the third one was 1666, which is a play on 666, but it doesn't really play into the film itself.
Yeah, they do a lot of little wordplay in this thing too. Which
I mean, yes and no, because when the 1666 title plays off of like obviously Satanism and there is some of that in that episode, but other than that, 1984 is just the moniker of when it takes place, so that you know what you can expect with some of the attitude and some of the dressing and some of the costuming, and then 94 as well. And again, I don't love it, but I do want to talk about it because I think as a horror director, you can pick out things that it does really well. But before I get into that, I know you didn't love it across the board, right?
Yeah, dude. You said I watched the first one, and I basically almost wanted to turn it off 15 minutes and 30 minutes, and I think I even texted you. I'm like, this thing doesn't get good in the next 10 minutes. I'm done. And then we watched it all, Rachel and I, and we're like, okay, that was the worst horror-based freaking movie that Netflix has come out with by far. And then you're like, oh, the next one is eons better. I'm like, really? Okay, it's Chris Carter. You're my horror buff. I go to you for like advice on horror stuff, and you give me advice on shows and movies to watch and stuff like that. And I watched the second one already 15 minutes in, and I'm like, not even 15 minutes in, 5 minutes in, I was like, what is wrong with these kids? This is like, oh, you shouldn't. They got her strung up in a tree. Like, you shouldn't do this. I'm like, you're holding her legs down so she can't defend herself. Number one, you're just as bad as the person with the freaking lighter, right? And I don't know, man. It's just okay. Let's go back to it's an anthology, like you said. There's 3 movies on Netflix, and the cool thing about Netflix is they released them all within like a couple weeks, right? So I mean, I've never known of an anthology, horror base, or anything else that's released movies that quickly, So that was interesting. I think Netflix took a chance on that as well too, unless they were just trying to release the fact that The Witch got hung on July 12th, which is when they released the second one or the third one.
It was the third one. Yeah. It was actually really within a couple of days. Actually.
Yeah. Okay, cool. You're trying to play off of that. Good for you. I was not a fan of the protagonist throughout this show or series. I'm just gonna say series. It's not a show. Right. For movies. She was horrible, man. The first movie, you find out that her girlfriend and her broke up because she broke up with the girlfriend, and then there's like this conversation between both of them, and you make the girlfriend feel like the asshole, and you not only to pay tribute to that, but you also, just to add insult to injury, make her apologize on why you broke up with her. And it was the fact that the girlfriend's parents were going through a divorce. That's kind of rough, and you just break up with her over that. That was like the reason why. Like, already I'm in the conversation, I'm out of it. I'm like, this is boring, this is stupid. And for one thing, I'm not feeling any connection. I'm not feeling any compassion toward the protagonist throughout the whole thing. It was just, I didn't like it, man. Why did you like it? What you said there were things that they did right, so I'm curious to know what that is. What maybe I missed something.
So yeah, I do agree with some of your points. I didn't like the protagonist either. I thought that her backstory and her motivations weren't great. And I will say that the episode, 1994, wasn't good. I didn't like it. In fact, me and Jessica were saying we probably wouldn't watch it again. And so what I pulled from it was that you could do some really interesting things, practically, I say with air quotes, but we talked in the last episode where some of the deaths, obviously they weren't realistic. But again, when you watch horror, you have to kind of give it some suspension of disbelief when we get that. I would say some of the things that they did decently.
Okay, did that. Yeah, I was like,
well,
what did you?
The set deck.
The set?
So the set deck was pretty cool. I appreciate the lighting. I appreciate the stylistic lighting. And again, I like that. I like the scary things, scary stories to tell in the dark.
Okay.
You motivate lighting that maybe it's interesting, but not so much practical. And I think they did a lot of that, especially when they were inside at the very end, when they were in the grocery store with the neon lights, which there would be no reason for neon lights to have there. I think that was decent. I think the creature effects, once they blow them up when they're in the shower, when they kind of figured out that they need to get the blood off of the blonde girl, I think her name is Sam. They need to get off of her and drag it into the bathroom, and then all the creatures went there. I thought that was an interesting take on it.
Okay, so to touch on your lighting thing, I think the lighting was fine. I mean, yeah, they definitely changed it up, especially when they went to the 1666. And it was like all candlelight and torchlight, and it was very like an orange, warm
I'm only
coloring.
talking about 1994 now.
Oh, we're only going number one. Okay.
Yeah, because the lighting for me in the other two is much better. Like I can speak highly of some of the things they do in the other two. The first one, I'm just kind of being like, yeah, I agree with you in the fact that the story that we had, it was kind of flimsy, and then some of the motivations were ridiculous. Some of the actions were there's a point, and you and I brought this up, or you brought this up last time, when all of them decide to have like sex when they're waiting for the main characters to show up, or
that was like the
main
worst
bad
part of
guy
the whole movie.
It didn't make any sense. Like
no.
I can't wrap my head around a reason why they would decide to.
Were they're in middle school or high school? I couldn't even tell. Like the actors that they chose looked like they were in middle school, and then they have the stoner guy deciding to just masturbate in front of a mirror to himself.
Yeah.
Right there, that just made me awkward as heck.
Yeah, it was high school. I think it's pretty clear it's high school because there's a football team, and but you never know. Are they sophomores? Are they juniors? Are they graduating?
Yeah.
We do have one of them saying it's my last year, I think, here. But again, it wasn't something that really landed well for me, so I didn't linger on that part. So for me, they were just in high school. There was no, there was nothing after that. They weren't going away to college or something like that. So
basically, these movies take place over 3 periods. It follows a curse, apparently, from this witch that's infecting people or affecting people itself to kill people. What the best thing I could probably try and compare it to, or I think that they were trying to either not compare themselves to, but they coincidentally did, was the Scream movies. Like that kind of thing. Where it's like a bunch of high schoolers and stuff like that too. But if I look at the first opening scene where somebody gets murdered and stuff like that in the mall, compared to the first scene of Scream was a little bit more horrifying, but it like took itself seriously, but it also took, it had jokes back and forth and stuff like that too. But the first part, I'm still trying to understand the mechanics. I understand there was like the twist in the third movie and stuff like that too, and the curse and stuff like that too as well, but you don't get a lot of information. They leave your audience thinking, and not in a good way, where you're trying to figure out what powers are, how they fight it, where these guys are coming from, and stuff like that too, And I was not a big fan of the way that they went forward with this, if that makes sense.
It was messy. I will say that I totally agree with you, and I think that
Logical Robot, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you.
Oh shit! Thank you, Logical.
Yeah.
Every Sunday at 3 p.m.
Every Sunday at 3 p.m.
The biggest problem I had with it, well, one of the problems is it. Did you notice how the runtime of these films? They're almost all 2 hours, like pushing 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so, it still felt like there were parts that were missing. You know, it felt like something. You're right. The very beginning, and knowing, because I've watched all of them at least 2 or 3 times now, because I'm trying to piece the part. The very beginning, I just think that kid, the one that wore the skeleton mask, I think he was just unlucky. I think at the end, the sheriff, Good, who was bad guy, he offered up that. So he offered up that name for the devil or the demon to take, and then that person kills some random person in Shadyside, and that's kind of whatever. That's my quarter for the machine to make sure that everything keeps running safely. That's how I took it.
Okay.
And you only know that. Well, I mean, if you have to have watched all 3 of them, and it's the very end of 1666.
Dude, I almost didn't watch all 3 of them. I only watched all 3 of them because I knew we wanted to review them, but I just was not a fan at all, dude. I don't blame you. I didn't like any of them. Like the first one, it's hard to like it's hard to when you watch a first anthology series film or even show and stuff like that, or series itself. It has to keep me going, and at the end of the first one, I was just bored. I was over it, and it didn't make any sense. Like, why was the girlfriend possessed? She got possessed at the end, right? And then she died, so the witch wasn't interested in her anymore, but then she was still possessed, and then they were trying to get her unpossessed. That part never made any sense to me. I couldn't get with it, man. Like, the very end confused the hell out of me.
So, the reason that she was possessed, even though the witch didn't want her, was because the sheriff offered up her name to the devil. And then the devil, because her name is on the rock. And then at the very end, when the rock crumbles, the name comes off of it. It's funny, Logic makes an interesting point in the chat here. He enjoyed the first one, but not the second or any of his characters. I felt completely opposite. I felt the second one, I enjoyed the characters more than the first one. But I can see your point. Logic, since Nate and I are talking about that, what did you like most about the first one? Because
please tell me.
We didn't like the first one, and the only reason I watched the second one was because I had nothing else to watch. And then as I did that, I picked out, the lighting wasn't bad. I like warm lighting. I like that it was violent. It didn't.
I like that you're going to the technicalities of how they made it and stuff like that. I'm like, yes, I agree. As a production person, and it's for you. We like that kind of stuff because we see it and stuff like that too. But that should be a given, right? It should be good lit. And it should flow right and stuff like that to make it to this stage. But the stuff that keeps us going is dialogue, character development, and interesting, relatable characters, right?
Well, maybe, because yes and no, because I would say that a good example is Blade Runner 2049. That story was terrible. Blade Runner story was terrible, but it looked beautiful. So if a movie looks really good, and if the story isn't great, you're willing to make certain concessions. And if it's acted really well, I don't ever think that Tarantino's films aren't acted well, or there's not a good set piece. But if Tarantino put 2 people in a room and just had them talk, I would watch it because of how dynamic the dialogue would be, even though the set design is probably trash. Even though it's not, right? I'm just pointing out there. So there are certain concessions you make when watching a movie that it's like, all right, well, I'll watch this because it looks great. Blade Runner for me was an example. Have you ever watched a movie that maybe you didn't necessarily like, but you thought it looked good?
That look good is on the back corner of my mind. You and I go. That's why we have this podcast, because you and I approach things differently. We agree on a lot of good things and stuff like that too, but there's a lot of stuff that we approach differently. Like, you come in I feel, and I'm not putting words in your mouth. You come in at a production standpoint. You're like, okay, it looks good, it's lit well, blah blah blah. It goes into that. That's just how your mind works. Me, I'm listening. I'm looking at the dialogue. I'm looking at the character development, and if that's not there within the first 15 minutes, I've already lost my suspension of disbelief.
Well, it's hard to build a character in 15 minutes, though. That's why most movies are 90. That's why first act. I
know, but the first one is she's with her brother. He's on the computer, and then they meet up with the girlfriend. And there's that conflict and argument and stuff like that, and the first half hour of the thing, right? At that point, I'm already lost, because I'm okay. There's no horror yet. The first murder in the mall didn't make any sense to us because he got killed and kind of came back, so you lost me there. Logical says the gore was unexpected but not forced. I like the girl couple aspect, one giving the other a reason to survive. Okay.
The gore is great. The
The
gore,
gore,
to me
the gore,
was
yeah.
fantastic. The whole series, that was great. I love what they did with the gore. I totally agree. I totally agree with the gore.
I just didn't like the protagonist, man. I couldn't relate to her. I thought she was a bitch. I thought she put everything on her ex, and her ex her ex had a more compelling story. You know, she should have been the protagonist, in my opinion. You know, think about it. Let's break it down, right? So she's going through a conflict within the family because her family get divorced. Her girlfriend broke up with her, who's the protagonist, right? And she's also the one that disturbed the freaking corpse and got possessed. If you took it from her point of view, if you look at it from her point of view as opposed to the other one looking in, it would have been a lot different story. I could have related to more of like following her going through all these things as opposed to the protagonist who's deciding to just like throw a freaking, you know, what is it, like that water cooler thing at her boyfriend's car and stuff like that, and cause all this stuff to happen. Like that whole conflict didn't even make sense to me either, because like everybody covers for her at the end, even the guy that was driving the car and was pretty much assaulted while he was driving by the protagonist, and they just cover for her anyway, and like, it was just stupid. I did not like the protagonist just for that fact.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I disagree with a lot of what you said, but I do agree.
I love how you always respond like that. What did you disagree with?
Well, no, there were, as far as, well, the protagonist part, because that's really what your biggest gripe is, and I agree. I think that's not good, but I would say that in 2 and 3 that gets better, because you know it's logical saying here in the chat here too that Ziggy and Cindy's relationship in part 2, he didn't like that. See, I thought it got much better. I preferred the characters. So let's move off of 1, right? Because it is a trilogy, right? And I agree with you. 1 wasn't very good. I didn't like 1 very much.
No.
Okay. And even so, I will say this too, to your point. When towards the end, one of the girls says we should just give her to them. You know, we let her die, because why am I going to die for your girlfriend, for your ex-girlfriend? Like, right. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. I totally agree. Maybe it's me being older, but you know, it's like, cool, this isn't my problem, it's your problem. And then those people die. So yeah, the protagonist not only had a bad or flimsy story, but she also got these people who wanted to help her killed. It's like, okay,
yeah, right.
But going into 2, because
hold on. Let's go back to let's go circle back real quick. Number 1, where they're telling her, oh, she has to die first, then she's not like followed by the witch anymore, and she has to take all these pills. I'm sorry, sticking her with a bunch of adrenaline at the end would not bring somebody back. It's like you're telling kids, hey, try this new trend. You can get out of it. Don't kill yourself. Just have your friends stick you with adrenaline, and you'll be fine. Just take as many pills as you want. No, I'm sorry. There's no way that can be real. That's not reality. I'm sorry.
Well, but again, it's a movie and it's a horror movie.
I know, so but it's like kids watch this. It's marketed to kids, right? To watch this. It's not really marketed to our age.
It's not marketed to kids. It's rated R.
Is it?
I believe so. Last time I checked. Well, I take that back. I don't think Netflix gives an official rating to films that aren't released outside of Netflix, and because the Netflix original, it doesn't have to. But I disagree with that completely. I was gonna
say kids like high school age, right? I mean, I still consider those guys minors. They're not 18.
Well, but also you can make the same argument for Pretty Little Liars, for OC. Like, studios have been doing that since the beginning of time. Whether they're doing drugs in copious amounts or small amounts over short amounts, it doesn't. That to me is short-sighted.
I don't know. I just felt that scene was like a blueprint on how to do this. That's just from my point of view of watching that. Okay, go ahead and continue to part 2. Or part 2.
So part 2, and again, unfortunately, we still have the connective tissue from part 1. These characters from part 1 are going to deal with this in 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. We just get flashbacks, and they do this, like the American Horror Story, where they're casting the same people in the same show to be different characters.
Right.
And you know, that kind of works. That kind of doesn't. I don't know why. I would prefer different characters personally.
I would too.
It comes up more prevalent in 1666, but in 2 we get Sadie Sink, and she's a Stranger Things veteran, and I love her story. I think that her character, she's good. I like that Nick Good's character. I like the way those two play each other.
Yeah, don't
and then
tell
the
me that's
sister,
a kid.
and then the sister, I think I thought was there was so much for me to like about 2 because it takes place in the wilderness, in a camp. When we get down to it, like this guy, the killer, who actually doesn't have a terrible backstory the way it's created, he's taking out kids too. Like, you don't see that in horror movies. You don't see, like, the kid is mostly always safe.
That's okay. We didn't really see it here either. You just see him swing an axe and it happens off screen anyway.
Well, sure, because and for them, I don't know if you can. Maybe you can show that. But yeah, no. But the fact that they do it, to me, they broach that subject, just makes it all the more authentic in the horror realm. Like, oh, they're willing to do that. So, obviously we're kind of in for it. So, what did you like anything about the second one?
No, I really didn't. Like most of the stuff that happens that transpires, especially with the girl and stuff like that too. Like, okay, for example, when they find that bulbous mass underneath in the tunnels and stuff like that, her immediate first reaction is like, I'm gonna touch it. What? No,
yeah.
Burn it to death. You have torches and or something, right? Or don't just run up like, yeah, this looks interesting. Boop. Oh shit, I'm getting all these visions now. That didn't make any sense. You said Nick Good and stuff like that. Apparently she knew that guy already. She knew his name, and then like all of a sudden, a next scene later, she's like, "Who are you?" And he introduces himself to her. You called him by name like 2 scenes prior to that. The writing was sloppy. If you go back and stuff like that. I
missed that. Are you sure?
Yeah, because he like saves her right when she's like getting burned and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, 5 strikes and stuff. And then she's doing the Carrie thing with the paint in her cabin and stuff, and he's like calling her by name, and she's like, "Don't come in, Nick." And then all of a sudden, when they do the prank on the one groupie girl and stuff like that, and all of a sudden she's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Nick Good. Blah blah. Here's my backstory. My dad told me all this information that I know about now, and that's why the killer's not coming after me because we figured that out." I'm like, the writing is sloppy. They go back and forth on these like introductions with a bunch of different characters and stuff, and you don't feel connected to either one. You don't know who to really root for besides the girl from Stranger Things. Yeah. Really? And right off the bat, like I already was kind of rooting for her in the first place because you got like this mob coming after her and just like treat her like man, kids were violent back in the day, I guess, because over $10 you're gonna string her up and burn her with a freaking lighter. And then like where's the adult supervision? This is a camp with little kids and then other kids. There's like no supervision. The guy obviously sees her getting assaulted with a lighter, and there's like 5 people ganging up on her in a tree that everybody knows the story behind, and he's like, "Oh, 5 strikes, even though you just got assaulted, and I just definitely saw it." The hell is that? Yeah. Like that first scene, I was like turning to Rachel, I'm like, "This is stupid. Somebody jump on this, man. I'm not gonna let this go. You just burn me with a lighter. I'm gonna beat your face in." And everybody's just okay with it because she took $10 or something like that because you just saw it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the burning part of it was a little far for me, but I mean, kids can be dicks, obviously. That didn't bother me. I think that the part that bothered me most on that one, you're right about that mass in the fucking tunnel. I was like, no, I would never touch that. Like,
no, that doesn't look like, whoa.
That doesn't make any sense. I wonder, in spitballing here, I'm wondering if because the writing was a little disjointed, was because traditionally you have 3-act structure, but when you have 3 movies where you think that your second movie is your middle act, and in some cases this was, but you've got a whole lot of filler in between, and maybe that's where it fell apart. You're given too much free range, and so, but I wonder. I really enjoyed the bad guy they created. I thought that he was likable at first, and then he turns because the name got written in stone, and the nurse knew it, and she tried to kill him at first. How the nurse found that or knew that, to me, kind of was like one of those things you're talking about. How did she know that? Right. Like where the writing was. I don't know how she knew that, and I watched it 3 times. So I think that there are certain things that really didn't land for me. But once you get into it, once he turns, the gore and the violence, the way they shoot it is fantastic. I think it's wonderful. I like the way they light it. I think that it reminds me of like original Friday the 13th films. It had an original Halloween film to it, vibe to it for a bit. Oh, but
I can't believe you're comparing Jason to this right now. It hurts me in my soul.
No, it definitely does.
God.
I mean, it's not a stretch to think camp counselors in the woods on the summertime, people banging and they end up dead. Like, I mean,
that's not the reason why they're getting killed, though. Like the other horror movies, like one of my favorite horror movies is Cabin in the Woods. When they talk about the rules on how you get killed in horror movies and stuff like that, especially within, like I mentioned before, Scream. And oh god, like that last part where it's the sisters at the tree and they're getting surrounded and stuff, and how they get killed and like pretty much murked and stuff like that. That was sad to watch, but also for just from a viewing audience standpoint, like they're just running around, and then what's her face gets stabbed by like a knockoff freaking Michael Myers with that little knife, and he's got the freaking, looks like he has a mask on. Looks like he has got a Michael Myers mask and a mechanic's freaking jumpsuit on. I was like, oh god, this is just bad to watch. And she got stabbed like, I don't know, 6 times by that guy, and then Nick Good just runs up and applies freaking CPR. I'm sorry, you get stabbed, CPR is not going to bring you back like that.
So
you're not dying from loss of oxygen.
You watched the third one?
I did watch the third one.
So then that explains it. He actually told the devil or whatever to bring her back.
Yeah.
That's because she was dead. In fact, it even has that moment where it says she died, but he brought her back. Ambiguously leading to, he brought it back with CPR when it wasn't that at all.
I know, but at the end of the movie, you don't know that. At the end of the second one, you just see it happen, and you're just sitting there
okay, because if you watch the second one, you knew there was going to be a third one. Like you knew what this was going to be before you started watching it. You knew it was going to be a trilogy, released 1 week apart. Like that wasn't a surprise. You didn't have to wait 2 years to find out that was the end of it. So, I think that part of it, that wasn't that bad for me. The killers I thought were cool. They were different. They were unique. I think they had some of them had really cool backstories, and the way they created that dude's mask was bullshit though. Like I thought, she
put a rucksack over your head. That's your face now.
But pull it so hard that it melds to your face. Like you couldn't pull a sack that hard and meld it to your face. Like that's fucking impossible. That part was his only part. Like, oh, that's.
I would literally turn to Rachel at that point. I'm glad you brought. I'm like, I wonder is this the guy with the thing over his face? And obviously puts it over. I'm like, yep, that's him. All right, cool.
Well, you could tell because of the axe too. Like,
yeah. But I thought it was still
how he got his mask.
I didn't know he was going to be like one of the guys that apparently gets possessed and comes back somehow. I thought it was just like he got possessed by her and was killing people, because the other girl got possessed and didn't turn into one of those things. She was just normal, Well,
I guess I think, but that guy turned into that because of what happened to him. Like he wouldn't have chosen to wear that mask. That mask was, he was like suffocated with it, and therefore it just kind of stuck. It just didn't fall off. So, there's that. But
I will never watch these movies again, man. They don't have the pull. They don't have the rewatchability for me as well. I'd rather rewatch the first season of Stranger Things over this.
Well, the first season, Stranger Things, awesome.
Yeah,
for you to say that, it's like, yeah, of course. Would I rather watch The Godfather over 21 Jump Street? Of course I would.
Okay, that's a drama compared to comedy. Come on.
Okay, you're right. If I were to watch I really like Point Break too. I love Point Break, dude. Not the remake. The remake was dog shit. The original.
Okay, let's talk about let's talk about the frickin' what is it?
The third one, 1666.
Yeah, let's go into that one, okay? Because that one, I mean, I love Puritan horror kind of stuff. It's like my favorite genre of like that kind of stuff. But if I had to put it into words, like why I felt like the third one was okay, it would be based on the fact that because it's that lifestyle. I'm expecting it to be horror. I'm expecting it to be a certain way, right? Looking at like let's take a look here. We go from the second one. They know how this happens. She's touching them. She's like transported to this world. They use some of the same actors, like you said. But I still am not connected to anybody. I'm still not able to relate to any of these characters. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. And they're banking on that right now. That's why they're using the same characters. They want you to feel bad for the first girl and the first protagonist. That's why they show her so often. It's
funny, if they had used different actors for any of these characters, I probably might have tried to relate to them, because I'm already turned off by them from the first two.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I can see that. If you don't like the protagonist in the first one, then you're gonna have a real problem with the rest of it. I agree. Yeah. I was a fan of the middle-aged Sadie Sink character, the one that survived.
I think
Like I
Logical
liked
brought that up. I think Logical said that they like Sadie, right? Logical
I think he said
in
he
the
didn't.
chat.
I thought he said he didn't like Sadie, but I'm not sure. But
Ziggy
you
irritated
know,
the hell out of me. Pretty much, Ziggy. Pretty much the same story as Ziggy. Ziggy. He said Ziggy irritated the protagonist. Is Ziggy, isn't it?
no, Ziggy is Sadie Sink's character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
So I think they said that they liked the first one, but not the second one, and that would make sense because they're in the second one. But the third one. So I didn't know you like Puritan horror. Have you seen The Witch?
I have seen The Witch a little bit of it. I think I fell asleep through half of it because it really didn't keep me that entertained. But like anything like that, like for example, what is it? The American Horror Story Croatan season.
Roanoke.
Roanoke, that's it. Yeah, well, it's the Croatoan curse, right? That one, that season, I actually liked. A lot of people said that they didn't like it. I actually liked that season.
Yeah. I have a hard time liking that type of horror personally because to stay true to the lighting. It's funny. I'm a lighting horror, obviously.
I was gonna say you're just gonna put a lighting A+ on this whole thing.
Well, no, because there were a couple of scenes that I like how they did them. It was like a naturalistic vibe when it comes to that. But look at the colors; they're muted. They're very muted colors, except when you get around the fire. And to me, I don't prefer that. That's not the way I would like to shoot something. Okay. So I look at it, and for me, lighting wise, it wasn't better as good as 2 for me or 1. But I will say that this one is probably better than 1, but not as good as 2. Only because we get the entire backstory, and then we find out through the backstory that Sarah Fear, the one that the witch that everybody keeps talking about, she hasn't cursed the town at all. It was somebody. And by the way, the way that they revealed the dude who actually did it, you saw that coming from minute 21. So
yeah, like
you knew it was completely that guy.
When he killed the priest and stuff like that, the priest just like ignored him the whole time and just went after her for whatever reason, which she had no inclination of being witchy at all in the first place. And he just kills that guy. I'm like, that's a nice way to tie up a loose end. I wonder if he's the bad guy.
Yeah. And it's too much of a red herring. And again, I go back, talk about the writing, which I will give you credit for bringing up because you did. That to me wasn't, the misdirection on who the bad guy wasn't strong enough, for me at least.
Okay.
So, we get that story for maybe an hour and a half, and then we wrap up, in current time in 1994, current time as that is, we get our epilogue. And we figure out how everything happens, and we wrap that up with a nice tidy bow. Which I don't know if to me the mall that they used in 1994 looks a lot like the Starcourt Mall they used in Stranger Things episode or season 3. So maybe Netflix has that's a location, but I took it for what it's worth. It's a horror film on Netflix, a horror trilogy. There are things to like about every film that I usually see, and I didn't shit on it the way you did, but I do see your point. The writing was lazy, I'll give you that, and then the protagonist wasn't very likable. I'll give you that. You're right, at least in those 2 aspects. But I am. It just gives me credence. And by the way, there's a new one. There's a new horror movie. Just switching gears now. On Netflix called Blood Red Sky. It's a German film, but it's filmed in English. It's about vampires on a airplane, which the logline sounds ridiculous, but it is amazing.
Vampires on an airplane. I have had it with these blood-sucking vamps on this blood-sucking plane.
Yeah. But I watched some of it last night, and it was actually really good. It was horror movies that take themselves seriously to me are great. That's why I liked Scream, but I didn't love it. You bring it up before because it was too self-aware of itself. I don't think it's.
Well, that was the whole point. It was like
I know,
like that. That's why it went that route. I watched Blood Red Sky last night. Logical has already seen it. Okay, great. I'll have to look into that too. I mean, I like horror stuff. Like if I was going to explain like my favorite horror movies, and we've gone over this before in past ReelChat episodes. You can find them on YouTube, ReelChat, and would be like The Conjuring.
Sure.
Or The Exorcism of Emily Rose, or even The Exorcist and stuff like that. I like that kind of in-depth, unknown stuff that doesn't just try and spoon feed it to you like Fear Street did. You know, it tried making it like, oh, you don't know where it's coming from. I understand that they're book series, and I think Marshall said that my buddy Travis read them, the books from R.L. Stein. They said it stays to the course material and stuff like that too. I'm like, if the movies follow the books, then I'm not going to be a fan of those books either. And I love reading.
Yeah, but this is like horror for like 12 to 14-year-old boys.
So, okay, but then if the books are catered to that, then why wouldn't the movies then?
Well, because if you make a horror movie for 12 to 14-year-old boys, you're making a PG-13 movie, and it's just the source material for that isn't going to be great.
I guess, but I that's why I brought up earlier. I think that this was catered to more of like a younger generation than our age group.
Well, that's true, yeah, but mostly in name. I mean, the IP itself was, it's a young adult series. I don't know what the classification for young adult is, maybe from 13 to 18, I guess. I'm not sure. But the source material.
I just didn't have fun, man. I didn't like it. Didn't. That comes back to the protagonist, Chris. That's why when you write a script, right, you want to make your protagonist relatable, so that the audience can feel what they're going through and either root for them, or and not root for the enemy. I felt like halfway through most of this stuff, like the whole trope of I'm a bad guy, I'm gonna walk to you really slowly, swinging a bat instead of just running up to you and murking you like we've done in every other scene. I was halfway like rooting for the bad guys. I'm like, kill him, get him, please kill this character. I hate him. And the whole like good is evil kind of thing. I'm like, you just wrote that in there just to use that line.
Oh yeah, I hated that line.
I was like, you just put that in there just to try and run that line up the flagpole. With like how sad that was.
Not a huge fan of the way that turned out. I agree with that. But I mean, all in all, I am excited about the way things are going for this October. And again, October is obviously, I'm a huge horror Halloween fan, and we're gonna get the Last of Us is starting to shoot. They casted a couple people.
Now that is a horror thing I can get behind.
It's costing $10 million an episode.
It's $10 million an episode? Oh man, the CGI must be great. Yeah. Oh, what do you think? When do you suspect we're gonna get a trailer?
There's a trailer probably early next year.
Early next year?
They're filming it now, and with COVID with the restrictions kind of going away, productions like this can move a little bit faster. So I'm sure that'll happen. And then we're getting What We Do in the Shadows, a great horror comedy coming out in September. I'm just excited.
What We Do in the Shadows. Is that vampire one? But
it is. Have you seen it?
Waika Waititi. Yeah, there's like a couple seasons out, right?
Dude, it's hilarious.
Oh, I watched the movie originally, and I thought it was freaking hilarious. And then they spun it off into a show.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly what they did. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to watch it again because it is pretty funny. I had a roommate that used to quote a line from, what was it? What are we again? We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yeah.
My thing is I like shows that are different. I mean, we always like getting grounded with the dramas and the comedy, right? That's kind of like the palate cleanser to most of the other things we have, and that's where I see these shows and stuff like that too. But I like shows that are deep rooted with the protagonist being a troubled person, conflicted in either a decision he has made or has to make to make him go through the journey, right? I did not feel Fear Street gave that to me. I was hoping it was going to turn around. I was hoping for something relatable. Couldn't relate to any of these characters, so out of a rating that we usually do, I'm going to give this thing literally a 1 out of 10.
Interesting. And that's your whole trilogy rating then?
Whole trilogy rating, dude. Like, the only thing I liked out of the first one was the fact that the girl got stabbed fighting that one guy before she got thrown into the bread slicer, and she fought back. I'm like, okay, cool, she's fighting back. Oh, she's dead.
Yeah, I had huge problems with the first one. The second one I enjoyed, the third one that wasn't bad. I would tell people to watch it. I would say, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to spin it like, yeah, it's Stranger Things, or I'm not going to say it's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. But I would say, like, yeah, I would give it maybe a 6.5, 7. And I would just say, just put it on. And everybody's horror levels are different. Like, you didn't like it, I didn't hate it. I don't think Jessica hated it. You said Rachel didn't like it. Dustin didn't like it.
Good, Dustin. Thank you.
It's funny though, but if you look, a lot of critics and people who have seen it really enjoy it. So you know what I mean? There is an audience there for that. And the director said that she wanted to make a lot more of them, you know. And his I don't know if you know R.L. Stein, but he's probably got like 100 books. So
Oh yeah, it's just like Stephen King. Like Stephen King drops like what? It feels like 50 books a year. I know he's got his other writers and ghostwriters to help him out and stuff like that.
yeah, well, he doesn't so much write anymore, but his library that he has, and the reason you see a lot of his novels is because of, you know, he's got some clause where if you can buy like the rights to make one of his films for like $1 or something.
Right.
Because he believes in people wanting to go ahead and take his material and see what they can do it.
If we're talking about art writers and stuff like that, and their product and stuff like that coming to off the page, my favorite would always have to be Neil Gaiman. Rachel and I have a mutual
Gods and Demons. What is it called? Angels. What is it?
Good Omens.
Good Omens. Thank you.
Rachel and I have a mutual friend that actually grew up with him and hangs out with him and talks to him about and stuff like that too. And right now they're doing. He's got like, because he wrote American Gods, and I don't know, I haven't looked into that, but they're doing now the Anansi Boys, and they're actually doing a Good Omens 2, which is now being filming right now in Scotland and stuff like that too. So that's really cool. Yeah, man, I'm excited for the next thing. So Chris, my next question about a horror kind of thing for you. You ready?
Go for it. Yeah.
You ever gonna watch Quiet Place 2?
I'm probably just have to buy it. Yeah,
it's out. It's streamed. Stream it on. Isn't it on HBO?
No, it's not. You can stream it on Paramount. Nobody has Paramount Plus though, because why would they? And you know, so I'm probably just gonna break down and get it. I want to see it. We enjoyed the shit of the first one, so it's just, you know, it wasn't. And it's funny because when we talked about Godzilla versus King Kong, that was right when theaters were opening back up again, and that everybody went to go see it. A lot of people went to go see it. But it's like tapering off. Like, I don't know if you've noticed that, and I guess some theaters are closing back up, but Quiet Place 2 was only in theaters for 40 days, 45 days, and then it goes straight to streaming. So, yeah, I mean,
okay.
I guess where I was going with that was that your window to go see things in the theater is much smaller now.
Yeah.
So
I think they're trying to bank off like maybe a high or a less scope to recoup their earnings. Like, we earned this much in this amount of time, but it's already a shorter amount of time, you know. And
did you see that Emily Blunt and Krasinski are really upset because they get a cut of the theatrical run, and if you shorten that, then you have their cut. So yeah, before I forget, did you see the trailer for Dune that dropped this week?
The game? Dune? Oh, Dune! Dune! I thought you said Doom, D-O-O-M. Dune,
no,
absolutely.
Dune.
I can't wait. That 007, those two are my next two favorite movies that I'm looking forward to. And my next two favorite shows right now, Wheel of Time and Why the Last Man in September. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Did you see that Comic-Con they announced the last season of Walking Dead? Or they showed the trailer for it?
Okay, so Walking Dead... it's hard for me to get back into because Rachel and I suffered a loss in December where our dog Brutus passed away. And that was his favorite show. He knew when I was going to turn it on. He heard it. He loved watching it. You can see videos of him enjoying that show with me when I'm working and when we watched the last season together and stuff like that. So to be honest, Chris, I don't know if I can bring myself to watch that show right now or even again. You know, I loved Fear the Walking Dead, and I can't even bring myself to watch that right now just because of memories. Still.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Was it a good trailer?
It was all right. The big news to come out of it is they're releasing it in 3 parts.
The season?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
interesting.
You're going to get the first part of it in October of this year, and then you're going to get the rest of it in 2022 sometime. So, you know, I don't know if I like it. And they're talking about the Rick Grimes films. I know you and I have been Walking Dead guys from the beginning and kind of tapered off. And I haven't watched Walking Dead in a long time.
That's what interests me when Taylor approached me saying, "Hey, I got a guy making a zombie film. You should meet him."
Fucking zombie films. And you know, I don't know. I don't know. I will probably watch it. I don't know if I'll watch it like from the beginning, as in like, you know, the last episode. But
well, speaking of watching zombie films, hey chat, I want to let you know, Chris Carter and I met a couple of years back when he was directing a post-apocalyptic movie called Overwatch before the game came out. Would you guys like to watch that with us and review that film with us here live on Twitch? comment in the chat right now to see if you guys like it. That's one of my first. It's one of my first feature-length roles. I think it's my second one because now I remember I did Smitty, the Tucson serial killer, with Marcos Vidal before that, I think. But would you guys like to see it? Because I haven't seen that movie in a while. I actually don't even have a copy of that, Chris.
You do have a copy of it.
I don't.
Yeah, you do. I gave it to you the night of.
Did
you?
I
remember, yep, because I gave you the copy that actually played when we premiered it.
Oh my gosh.
I know you have it.
I'll have to find it. It might be. It might have to. But I don't think my PC has a disk drive. So
I know, right?
You'll have to create. If chat wants to watch it, chat. If you guys are hearing us right now, Chris is in it too. He directs it and actually stars in the film as well. I enjoyed it. I'd like to. I think it'd be interesting to watch it again. I'd like, even if anybody doesn't want to watch it, Chris, I think it'd be fun just to review it ourselves. To critique our own selves.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that might be a rabbit hole I don't necessarily want to go down, but maybe
no.
We'll see. No, not really.
Why not?
I mean, because...
It's been years.
Oh, I know it's been years. Jesus.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm afraid to see my baby face again, man. Like I look young in that thing.
I know. Did you see that the trailer, the prequel for Army of the Dead is out?
The prequel, the movie's out. Like, wait, that was way to take the freaking attention off of your movie. But sure, what? It's out already? What?
The trailer is out. It's called Army of Thieves. You knew that, and it's about the safecracker. He was one of the most interesting people in the entire film of Army of the Dead. So
okay.
Army of
I'll have to
Thieves,
check that.
Yeah, it's on. It's in fact, you know what? Here, I will put it in your chat right now.
I'll have to see it. But we are almost out of time. Yeah. I guess chat does not want to watch Overwatch, so Chris, you lucked out there.
Yeah.
Well, I still think, you know what? I'll just do it myself on my own stream. If I have it, I'll figure out a way to see it. I'd like to do it with you. I don't understand your fear behind it. You're an artist. We get critiqued and stuff like that too. I'll throw my cards on the table too. I'll put Fractured up to Overwatch, and we can critique that as well if you wanted to. It'd be fun. It would be fun. We review movies and TV shows every Sunday at 3 p.m. It'd be interesting to actually review our own stuff, and critique our own work. That's just me.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Stream died when you were asking. Oh, stream died. Stream's still going. Stream's still going. Chris, on your end?
Yeah, I'm watching it right now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I asked. Chris and I make movies ourselves. We are actors and directors on our own right, which is why we have such passions about these projects and films and stuff like that, and movies, and TV shows. My question was, would you like to review one of our own films that we've made and have gone to theaters or Amazon? I mean, Chris even has a movie on Amazon called what's it called again, Chris?
One
Night in October.
You were in it.
I know. I'm trying to get your input here, buddy. I'm trying to make you blush. Come on now. But One Night in October is on Amazon, so we have made a few movies and stuff like that, and have our own productions as well. So if you guys would like to see one of those, Fractured or Overwatch, please type that name in the chat, and we'll see what you guys think like that as well too. What do you think, Chris? Give the people what they want. Sweet Dragon says A, which I don't know which one she says A to.
A is Fractured.
A is Fractured. Hey, okay, I'll go first. I'll put Fractured up first, and we'll do that, and then we can do both. She said both. We'll do Fractured first, and we can do Overwatch the next week. What do you think?
We'll see. I have to see if I can find an Overwatch copy.
No, don't even lie to me right now.
No, I'm serious. I buried it deep. Also, you know what? They just dropped the Dexter trailer, the full Dexter trailer.
I'm gonna have to pull that up off stream.
I guess it's Comic-Con right now.
It is Comic-Con, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're dropping all these trailers.
Okay,
so that makes sense.
I'll have to take a look. Hey, but can I also give kudos to that wonderful array of movie posters in the background? Yes, Logical. There's Chris's movie posters.
Thank you, Lachlan. Appreciate it, man.
Big fan of John Carpenter in this group here tonight, guys. We got The Thing back there, Halloween, stuff like that, too. Speaking of Fractured, you can't really see it right now, but Fractured's movie poster's hanging right there behind me.
I can totally see it. When we were talking to David Harris, you got it better lit. I totally saw it. So,
okay, yeah, I changed up the colors today. I went purple instead of white. But, dude, this was fun. Hello, Dexter Morgan. Can't wait. Can't wait for that either. Logical, thanks for following. Please follow us every Sunday at 3 p.m. If Chris watches Quiet Place Part 2, we'll review that next week. If not, we'll open with Fractured.
I will. No,
if not, we'll open with Fractured. I have no problem showing Fractured.
Dude, we should watch a lot. Are we gonna do a live critique?
Yeah.
I might be down to do a couple of ours.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw up Fractured on the screen. I'll tell friends and family and stuff like that too that have or want to reminisce. I'll even reach out to my old cast. I'll reach out to Jeremy, Rachel's in it, Lee if I can find him, Bo, Josh, Mikey, a bunch of other people and stuff like that too to see if anybody wants to jump in.
Rodriguez is in right?
Yeah, he's in the pool scene, the party scene. But yeah, guys, we'll throw that up there and stuff like that too. We'll do this. If he sees Quiet Place 2, we'll do that next week. If not, we'll open with Fractured.
Oh, I like it.
All right,
That's
and then Overwatch next week.
Now we'll see.
Overwatch the following week. Dude, this has been a lot of fun. Yeah. I've enjoyed our stream today. It's been a great birthday. I don't know if you guys knew I turned 32 today. So Chris, it's always great to spend it with friends, doing what we love, right? So,
I agree, man. I agree. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Take it easy and awesome. And you have me optimistically excited about doing these things, reviewing our films on this.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be fun. I can critique myself and go back and say, oh, I should have done this and stuff like that too, and see what people think. You know, it's not a bad way to revisit old stuff.
That's true. I would love to show, if we're going to show Overwatch, then I'm going to show the last thing that I did. Because I think it's important to show both ends of the spectrum. Okay, let's start with our the oldest stuff we have, and we'll work up our way to how we've changed and stuff like that. It's funny because the oldest thing I have actually won an award. And really? It's like the first. Is that the one around the fire? It's what? Is it the one with the scene around the fire? I remember it was also at Slaughterhouse, or is it something else? That actually, I'm not. I don't love that one. It's not bad. I don't love it. The one before that. Okay. Yeah, it's a 40-minute featurette, and it's got me, Rachel Chateau, a couple people. Nobody else was in Overwatch. You would know some people though, because I think you know one of the actors that was in your thing. You did with Steve McKee, Smitty, I believe. Smitty, I think that's. I don't think Steve was in Smitty. Steve was in a different thing that we did together. It was a Stephen Huffman film, actually, if I don't remember. No, he wasn't. It wasn't his film. He was also he had a role in the film, but it was a Art Institute of Tucson film that came out a while back. Man, I haven't seen that thing in a long time. All right, so we'll do Fractured next week, and then we'll do Overwatch the following week, and then we'll do one of your things. It's in stone. It's in chat. It's gonna be on YouTube, guys, on Tuesdays. I'm not gonna let Chris get out of this. I'm sorry. All right, bro. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, guys. I'm going to go get some food before I start work and stuff like that. Enjoy my birthday with my wife and stuff like that. Chris, this has been fun, man. I can't wait for next week. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm excited. Bro, me too. All right, guys. Take care later. Respect yourselves. Respect each other. If you haven't seen this show, check it out on YouTube on Tuesdays. Follow us on YouTube. And check us out next Sunday right here on Twitch for ReelChat at 3 p.m. Love you guys. See you, Chris. Later, guys.
We are the music makers. And we are the dreamers of dreams.